We are sponsored by Epiphany Recording Studio. Creativity needs to flow freely if you want to reach that aha moment that we're all looking for. At Epiphany Recording Studio, their goal is to create space that takes full advantage of those moments. From podcast and video production to music creation, you get the support you need to create compelling stories with a competitive sound. Your ideas can flow freely because they partner with you free of judgment, ready to be vulnerable, do the work, and make your projects look and sound their best. So let Epiphany Recording Studio help you reach your artistic vision by visiting them today at epiphanyrecordingstudio.com. Tell them Dawn sent you. Did you know that 80% of the world's purchases are influenced and made by women? Or that 90% of product development, manufacturing, and corporate leadership is led by men? I don't know about you, but that seems like some funky, disconnected math. This disconnect means large segments of the population are not getting their needs met because the products being made never even asked us what problems we needed to solve. Instead, companies use a pink it and shrink it philosophy. Not familiar? I bet you are. You know it. Take a man's product, make it smaller, paint it pink, sell it for 25% more. Then, when the products fail to make a dent in the market or to sell rapidly, they say things like, the market wasn't ready. Or, we were so sure it was going to work, I wonder what happened. And then they move on. I'm here to tell you, the market is most definitely ready. But the market is savvy. And putting some paint and saying it was designed for us is a slap in the face. We have real needs, and we're not settling for anything less than real solutions. If this sounds familiar to you and your business, then it's time to connect with Eliminate Girl Hate. We help businesses understand the lucrative consumer segment of women and how to meet their needs in authentic ways. From problem solving, product creation, marketing, and even human resource practices, we help create safe and equitable spaces for the female segment. And these safe spaces increase profit margins, employee retention, and brand loyalty along the way. It's time to start a revolution and meet your consumers where they are. It's time to eliminate girl hate. Check us out, eliminategirlhate.com, and find out how we can help your business today. Have you ever dreamed of writing a book? I know I have. Or maybe, also like me, you've started a manuscript. Maybe you've started 10 and you've just never finished it, or never let anybody else read it, or never thought you could publish it. Wherever you are in the process, Jim Woods would like to help. Jim's a writer just like you, but he's also a coach who loves helping writers bring their books into the world and make them a reality. If you are like me, sometimes you need that push, a supportive but demanding cohort along the way to put your stories out into the world and keep you on track. Jim Woods is that cohort. Visit jimwoodswrites.com and click the Let's Chat button. Mention our podcast for a free clarity call and get your story out into the world because we need it. Hi, and welcome to Wait, Hold Up, What? A little mid-season review. This week in the United States will be the 4th of July. And with that comes days off for people and maybe celebrations, depending on who you are, or even reflections, if you're like me. And I'm a person who likes to reflect. We are on week 10 of the podcast. And if I had some clapping noises and I was that talented with IT, I would have inserted them in right here, because as I was reading my research, and I'm going to mess up the stat, but it's something like 70 or 80% of all podcasts only have one episode. So to have 10 is just kind of crazy to me. And I thought maybe we didn't really talk about the journey of how we got here. And I won't bore you with long details, although it is me. So you never know. When we started this, it actually was November of last year, and a husband of a friend of mine that I've known for 20, 30 years was like, you should really start a podcast as part of Eliminate Girl Hate, to which I laughed hysterically. No one wants to hear all this. Even the people in my life don't want to hear me talk because I talk too much, right? Not a dig at anyone, just, I talk a lot. As he said it, other people kind of joined the conversation, and I had heard it before. And so kind of as a lark, I said, well, I'll look into it. And looking into it turned into a 152-page business plan, because I like to plan, and sometimes planning can get in the way of action. And then I got on a call with some people who have podcasts and asked them, what do I do? How do I do it? What do you suggest? And a friend of mine named Sally, shout out Sally Zimmy, she said, look, you're a planner. You just got to do something. Who cares if it's good? Just do it, put it out in the world and learn along the way. And that is what I ended up doing. And it was great advice. It was a great reframing of some of the concerns and trepidations that I had. And so I did it. And we launched episodes and we kind of learned along the way. And I was very grateful to the 9 women, or I am very grateful to the 9 women so far who have been on the podcast because number one, they all allowed space for me to learn on the job, if you will, and for us to have really frank and open conversations. I think it's pretty obvious that this is not a scripted show. That is by design because I wanted you to feel like you could come in and eavesdrop on real conversations that women have with each other and that there weren't any limitations or any, we weren't trying to look, sound, or feel a certain way. We were just being real. So often in the world that we live in, women don't get a chance to be real because there's so many expectations about how we look, how we sound, how we present. And I don't want to speak for all women, but for me, I get in my head with that. And I think, oh gosh, I didn't put makeup on today or I didn't do my hair, which by the way is today. So if you see any video clips, congratulations. I'm so awkward sometimes. But that awkwardness is part of the beautifulness, I think, of a podcast like this because you don't have to pretend to be something you're not, and you don't have to live up to any impossible standard. It's what do you think? How do you feel? All of those things. We've had tears, we've had laughs. Sometimes it's been serious and sometimes it hasn't. And in the process of doing this, well, I hope for this to be a beacon to other women of something you can look at, listen to, and feel seen and heard, whether it's my stories or guest stories. But what I didn't anticipate was how much I would learn along the way and what a light that would be for me for my own healing and my own growth. And so we've had 9 women and they have varied in what their expertise is, what their specialty is, but also what we've opened up and discussed. We've talked about being on the job and the harassment that's involved, the microaggressions and sometimes macroaggressions that are involved in a workplace that women deal with every day. And we've heard from women, oh, me too, me too, me too. And so sometimes I think we underestimate just knowing that we're not the only one. We've talked about being first in spaces and how difficult that can be. We've talked about unwanted advances from people. We've talked about fitting into spaces that weren't made for us and feeling othered. And we've talked about digging deep to figure out who we are and our own authenticity and what it looks like when we show up to the table with that authenticity and how once we get in that space and we feel comfortable in that space, we're then able to provide it to others and let them feel safe and let them feel that they can be or show up fully as who they are. And you can go on Instagram or Pinterest or anywhere on the internet, TikTok, if you're young. I try to avoid it so that I, don't have to be on there. But if you go those places, you'll get lots of sound bites and you'll get lots of things about how to live your life. But when you hear it not in like this tiny sound bite, but you hear a woman say, here is what got me there, or here is the journey that I took. I think that's more powerful because it's easy for women who have been through something to say, oh, it's easy, just be yourself and people will come to the table. And we have some quotes like that on our Instagram page that came from the episodes. But the reason that a woman can say that is because she went through the dirt and the mud and all of the trials and tribulations that got her to understand, there it is. And if I had only known then what I know now, what would I have done different or how much easier would it have been? But that's just not really how the world is. We weren't promised a life free of strife. We were given a life and then told, go do with it what you will. And regardless of what you believe, if it is a religious faith, a spiritual faith, a faith in self, that tenet remains. We have one big, beautiful life. And what are we going to do with it? And it's not going to be perfect. We are going to mess up along the way, and we're going to feel uncomfortable along the way. We're going to feel doubt along the way. But it is what we get from each step we take and how we use those lessons and how we use them to move forward, I guess is what I would say, that really helps us on that journey. Will tell you is what I've learned in the first 9 episodes. One of them is that, and I got to figure out how to word this, but in general, in life, I am not a serious person. I am fun. I believe in having fun. I believe in being silly and kind of never really growing up. I'm a person who still has dance parties every Friday night in my underwear. I'm a person who still rolls down hills when I see them in the grass and plays in the playground or gets on a swing in the middle of my walk. I don't ever want to be a person who cannot access fun, right? That's what keeps us young. My friend Gary Ware, he talks about play and the importance of play in our life and what it does for inspiration and creativity. And I full-heartedly subscribe to that. But what I've been learning in owning my own business and the podcast and even speaking on stages is I've been so afraid that if I bring that part of me to it, people won't take me seriously. They won't hire me. They won't listen, right? Because I need to be the authoritative figure in the space of what I'm doing. And so much about what I'm doing with equity around gender is a serious topic. Like, should we be making jokes about it? But in these 9 episodes, when I listened back, I sometimes could hear or feel that I was trying too hard to be the deliverer of the message instead of having fun. And not that I didn't have fun, but it felt in some ways like it wasn't really me. And so that's a lesson I learned, or it's something I'm trying to take as I move forward in the podcast, that we can talk about serious things and still have fun and make light. And part of that is I'm afraid to upset anybody, which is so counter to what my beliefs are about women. I want us all to go out and be fully who we are, but there are weird things about when you turn a purpose, a passion, a love into a business, because you start to feel like you have to make everybody happy and you have to look like the other people in the space. And I am never going to be Sheryl Sandberg. I'm never going to be Katika Roy. I'm never going to be these people that wear a suit or go in and say all the words right and don't fumble of them, don't roll their eyes, make a funny face. My face is very expressive, I've learned watching this podcast back. It's very rubbery and Jim Carrey-esque, if you will. And so watching myself on screen has been difficult, just being candid. But I got to figure out how to be myself. I cannot stand on a soapbox or a pulpit and talk about how we should all be our full authentic selves and create safe and equitable spaces for women and not create that safe space for myself. And so that has been a really big learning in this, and I'm still finding my way through it. The other is to trust that the right people will show up. There's something about looking for a safe space and you look so hard, and then sometimes we build up these walls or these barriers because maybe people have disappointed us, or maybe that safe space wasn't provided the last time. And so I think a lot of women have this, oh, I'll just do it myself kind of attitude. And I'm very much that way. And so many of the women that talked this week, I almost feel like it came up in every episode, but they talked about this learning of just be you and the space will present itself, or the people will present itself. And I think I even said it, something about like, not everybody likes mint chocolate chip ice cream, but I do. And that concept is really easy to talk about. It's harder to fully embrace. And as I was doom scrolling last night on Instagram, I was looking at a post that was talking about how we have different friends for different reasons. And that is different as you age, especially as women, than it is when you're younger, right? So if we think about we're younger, I'm going to use me as an example because I don't know what you did when you were younger, but I used to go dancing every night, like 5 to 7 nights a week. I would go dancing, and, all my friends also went dancing, and that was what we talked about, and that was what we did, and that's how we hung out. And when you get older and life kind of takes you down a professional path, down a homemaking path, down both of them, right? You're taking care of family and home. What we communicate about or what we identify with our friends changes. And therefore, our circle and what we get from our circle changes, right? So the thing I was looking at on Instagram was women were talking, and one was saying, like, you're the friend I go to when I need to cry. And then you're the friend that I go to when I just need to feel seen, or you're the friend I go to when I want to think about nothing and just laugh all night long. And the summary of the post was that we have all of these different people and places to go to feel safe, and not one delivers on all of our needs. And I do think that's different because when we're young, it's one best friend and they have to be there for everything. And that's sort of or it has been for me, it's been a hard journey to understand that I can't get all of my needs met from one person or one place or one whatever. And then I have to go different places for it. And I think what I was learning from all of these women is how to understand where to find the safe spaces for different things, and being okay with a friend who can't give me what I need in one space because they'll do it in another space. So I really appreciated learning that. I think Pam Wilson, or Pamela Wilson, as she's mostly called, I just call her Pam or Pammy. Uh, she was really good at talking about that. Kate Harris was really good at talking about that. Janelle Suzanne. I feel like they all, even if they weren't directly saying that, that was some of what I got from them. And, we talked about supportive and demanding circles, right? So those people that give you the support and the encouragement and cheer you on, and they're I like to call them the hype women, right? They're the people in the back that might not be rapping all the lyrics, but they come in when I need some help and come in when I need to take a deep breath, and they're in hyping me up. And we all need those people in our lives. And so the other thing that I would say is most of the women who have been guests on the show, a lot of them have been my hype women at certain points in my life or certain situations. And so thank you for that. And then the women that I had met and that were new friends, Andrea hasn't been on an episode yet, but you just wait. That's next week. Rebecca Tolbert is someone I didn't know very well before interviewing her, and felt her hyping me up, even though it wasn't this direct thing. We were talking about ADHD and the ways that it presents itself and the ways to celebrate this beautiful brain that we have and not be down on yourself. And in that moment, I was like, okay, that one might have choked me up a little bit. I don't have a favorite episode because they all taught me something unique. But I do want to say that the very first episode for me was a special one. It reunited me with Becky Wilkinson, who helped start my career. And I owe so much to her. And sometimes I don't think we know how to let people know those things. And in the last few years of my journey, I have really been focused on trying to understand how to communicate things to people in a way that lets them know that I appreciate them, that I heard them, that I saw them, and that I felt safe around them. I feel like we don't do that enough with people. And I want to make sure that I am a vehicle for that and a vessel for that. Because while we've talked a lot about this concept of validation on the show and whether or not we need it, like, your therapist will tell you we don't need validation. But in one of the episodes, and I apologize that I can't remember which, we talk about how validation is great. Like, it's what lets us know that we're going in the right direction or we're doing all of those things. Validation becomes bad when we're seek it out so much that we cannot be objective. And so as women, we're really good. I used to talk about this a lot in my speeches. We go somewhere and we're like, oh my gosh, I love your shoes. And instead of saying thank you, we're always like, thanks, Target, $10, right? Like we want to make you know that we got a good deal or that we have good taste. So we bought it from a good brand instead of just like taking in the compliment. But I also think that it's hard to take in a compliment when it's not really about us. Like it's my shoes. And so I've been trying to really let people know when they have impacted me because that was them. That was their personality. That was their graciousness. That was their support, right? That was their empathy and compassion. And so, really changing the way that I let people know that I'm appreciative of them and who they are and what they bring into the world. And that was really highlighted for me through these episodes as well. But what I would like to end with is that when I started this, so I want to thank a couple of people. Uh, and I'm going to say first and last names. And if we got to bleep them out, we got to bleep them out. Ryan Christensen is the person who said, you should start a podcast. And when he said that, and when I laughed, he did not allow me to dismiss it. And he stopped me and he said, you're one of my favorite people to listen to talk about your experiences, but also the tough and the hard things. Now, I'm still trying to figure out how to fully accept that as a compliment. And my response was, and I might cry here, I thought people got annoyed by that. And so I had been trying to quiet my voice for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So, see, I am choking up. So I wanted to say thank you to Ryan for seeing me and taking the space to stop me so that I could see myself. And Veronica, I don't know which is your last name anymore, Roberts Thompson, for co-signing on that in that moment because she got to be a witness to it. And then every single person that helped me along the way in building this, I shared graphics and images and media kits and business plans and copy and all of those kinds of things with so many people. I don't even know if I can name them all, but Greg and Miko and Amy and there might have been a couple Amy's in there. I know a lot of Amy's and a lot of Pam's. Heather and Jen and Heidi and Mindy and oh gosh, Stacy. Oh my gosh. I really want to thank Stacy because she's always been a cheerleader for me, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. And she has never made me feel less than. And so thank you for that. And look, this is not an Oscar speech. So whatever. But the last group of people that I want to thank is my team. You all are helping me currently bring this whole vision to life, and you're doing the things I don't know how to do, and you're teaching me along the way, but you are helping me move faster. And so to Padrian and Jenny and Ayana and Brandon, I really appreciate all of the work that you're doing and that you're sharing your gifts not only with me, but by extension to the world that we're trying to reach. And then I probably already said lastly, but of course I'm going to say one more lastly. Anybody who has listened, downloaded us, shared on social media, it is not lost on me how much content there is in the world and how much you have to choose from. So the fact that you would choose to listen and then comment and communicate with us and give suggestions, every guest who has agreed to be on the show, both already and these future ones that we have, sharing your stories and that vulnerability, especially because a lot of what you did was shared your personal journey, not a professional one. And that is not easy to share with the world. So thank you for all of those things. We really want to continue and we want to build this up as a network of women who support each other, a network of men who come in and listen to women's stories and then become allies for who we are and what we do and learn something in this space to be better stewards of equity and shared space. Thank you. I appreciate it. If you're a new listener, listen to some episodes where the experts are talking, not just me, and subscribe. You can listen and subscribe on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, and we even have a YouTube channel under Eliminate Girl Hate. We would love if you followed us on social media because it helps us build this groundswell of a movement. So Eliminate Girl Hate and Wait, Hold Up What, both on Instagram. Eliminate Girl Hate is also on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then chat with us. Put stuff in the comments, share our content, get the message out. And the last thing I would say is if you have liked anything you have heard, a guest, an episode, rate us on those platforms. It helps with the algorithms. Rate us, write a review on Apple Podcasts, and help us get the word out. And if you would like to be a guest, email us at info@eliminategirlhate. We'll chat and see what we can do. So as we go into 4th of July, I have conflicted feelings about that holiday. And we just celebrated Juneteenth, which is technically the true date that we actually became independent as a country and that everybody became quote unquote free, although it is still a long time and we are still working on getting equal rights truly for everybody, for women, for people of color, for people of different religious backgrounds, for people of in the LGBTQIA community, for transgender rights. That is still a big thing in this country. And so celebrating the 4th of July is not the same for everybody. But it is a day in which we talk about independence and freedom. And so what I would like to end on is for all of us to reflect on what that truly means and whether or not any one human being deserves more freedoms than another. And we go into an election cycle this year that is fraught with debate, with ire, with frustrations by the people of this country. And we need to exercise our right to use our voice. But we need to do it in ways that allow people to hear us. And this yelling, this fighting, this infighting, this calling names, this talking about making America great again, and I don't want to just knock one side, because we need to hear everything. We need to hear the frustrations of the people of this country so that we can address them in ways that work for everybody. And we need to understand mediation and conflict resolution and ways to show compassion and empathy. It doesn't help when we do all of this stuff that's in the lexicon right now. It is not doing anything to change. And the only way that we can move forward is by understanding and making space for people in which they feel heard, they feel seen, they are safe, and they have equitable opportunities. Whatever you believe, opening your heart to that is the most important way for us to truly have this country that we say we want, that this independence, this declaration of freedom, this right to choose what we want. It only works if it's open for everybody. And so reflect on that this week, if you will, and figure out or brainstorm, be creative, ways in which you can truly help create those spaces for everyone around you, not just the people that look like you, sound like you, or think like you. And on that note, we will say goodbye, and we hope you join us as we continue with episode 11 next week and more really fantastic guests. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and let's eliminate girl hate together. Bye, everyone.